welcome back to the channel. And Lughnasadh Sauna, we are going to be looking at, since it's August 1st, Lughnasadh, also known as Lammas, and I'm going to there's not really any difference. The only real difference in what you would call it comes from where you're where its heritage is from. I'll get into that in a little bit of a second. But it is our August 1st is its traditional date in the Northern Hemisphere. It sits about halfway between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. It is sort of the opposite to Imbolc, which we celebrated all the way back in February. But if you're celebrating it by the seasons, sort of in the way it's intended, in a way, then you would be celebrating Imbolc right now instead of Lughnasadh. So yeah, there was a little bit looking at just here. No, okay. I thought I saw something there for a second that had. Okay. So we're gonna go, as always, onto our learn religions. I remember what it was I wanted to look at before I close that tab. Oh well. Okay, so this is the page has the title all about Lammas, and then in brackets it says Lughnasadh, and that is actually how you would pronounce it. Don't try saying Lughnasadh. I know it does end with the letters D and H. They're essentially silent. Irish is a funny language, and that's just how it's spelled. It's pronounced Lughnasadh. So the article reads as such. These are the dog days of summer, the gardens are full of goodies, the fields are full of grain, and the harvest is approaching. Take a moment to relax in the heat and reflect on the upcoming abundance of the fall months. But Lammas, sometimes called Lughnasadh, and again, like I said, the only real difference in its name would be where you're taking its origin from. Lughnasadh more or less is from Ireland, whereas Lammas is more of a Scottish English name for it. The reason Lughnasadh is specifically Irish is because Lugh is one of their gods. But at Lammas, it's time to begin reaping what we have sown throughout the past few months and recognise that the bright summer days will soon come to an end. Depending on your individual spiritual path, there are many ways you can celebrate, but typically the focus is on either the early harvest aspect or the celebration of the Celtic god Lugh. And obviously this can be where, if you're using this more as an arts festival, because one of the aspects of Lugh is that he is an artist. He's also like a warrior. He's sort of the jack of all trades as far as gods go. So if you're celebrating him more, it would definitely be a Lughnasadh. If you're wanting to just celebrate more the aspect of the early harvest, you would probably have a Lammas celebration. So there are other ways of sort of differentiating what your particular festival is called. So this is the season when the first grains are ready to be harvested and threshed, when the apples and grapes are ripe for plucking, and we're grateful for the food we have on our tables. So there's a couple of rituals that it recommends just on like the at a glance page. There's the Harvest Festival, which celebrates the beginning of the harvest cycle and the full cycle of rebirth. And if you click on that, it does also mention here that it can be done by a solitary practitioner or adopted for a group or covered setting. So yeah, and there are ways, if you're wanting to do it sort of more with a group, but you are a solo practitioner, there are ways to make it less sort of religiously in your face. If you've got other people coming who do not share your belief. There's another one here. On a lieu of the many skills, take the opportunity to celebrate your own skills and ability and make an offering to Lu to honor him, the god of craftsmanship. Obviously, my craftsmanship is my film work and my writing, and I'm grateful to Lu every day for these gifts. I don't need Lughnasadh specifically to thank him. Lu is one of the gods that I sort of invoke more often than not. Just because he can fill sort of any role, he's really good like that. There's a link here for some Lammas prayers, which are defined here as being simple seasonal prayers to celebrate the early grain harvest festival of Lammas, and then also some tips for decorating your Lammas altar using colours and symbols of the season. Some Lammas magic. It says here, this is a good time to work some magic around the hearth and home. Lammas is a time of excitement and magic. The natural world is thriving around us, and yet the knowledge that everything will soon die looms in the background. So there's ash tree magic and folklore. It says here, because of its close association not only with the divine but with knowledge, ash can be worked with for any number of spells, rituals, and other workings. There's bread magic. So it says here, let's look at some of the magical folklore surrounding bread in different cultures and societies. It's kind of funny too, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the bread that the hobbits have in Lord of the Rings is referred to as Lammas bread. So this is where that bread would have come from, or what it's supposed to be referencing. There's also the magic of corn. Corn has been planted, tended, harvested, and consumed for millennia, so it's no wonder that there are myths about the magical properties of this grain. You could also do some protection magic. Workings can be done to ensure protection of the home, property, and people. There are a number of simple ways you can do protection spells. You might also decide to work with sunflowers. You might look at some of the superstitions and customs about sunflowers from various, I don't know where that came from various cultures and societies. And then the last one is honey, which has a number of magical properties. Some customs and traditions. Some history of the festival, celebrated as a way either to honour the god Lu or a celebration of the harvest, depending on what you're more wanting. I have obviously myself found that making this a sort of like a festival of the arts, essentially, is sort of the way that I've been celebrating it, because everybody has, a unique skill, a unique ability, or they're really proficient in a particular, art, whether that be, sculpting, and sculpting doesn't have to be just from stone, it could be sculpting using metal and your skills at welding, sculpting with wood and construction. It might be something like weaving or knitting or sewing, or you might be proficient at music, or you might be a really good painter, really good photographer, a writer, an actor, whatever it might be. Chances are you have some form of a creative outlet, and I find that using this as a way to celebrate them, particularly if you've just finished celebrating Christmas in July, at the end of July, essentially you can look at Lughnasadh as being sort of quote-unquote New Year's Day in August, because if you're celebrating Christmas in July the 25th, it's the same amount of time, and so being able to use this as an excuse to celebrate and be thankful for the skills that you have in that year. There's also some legends and some lore about the festival, a couple of stories about how the Magical Harvest Festival sort of came to be, the sort of stories as to why it's celebrated. They have a link here specifically for diving further into looking specifically at the Celtic craftsman god. There's also a link for going and having a look at agriculture gods sort of from around the world. We've got the legend of John Barleycorn, which I'm going to admit I've never heard before, but he's apparently a character who represents the crop of barley harvested each autumn. And then later this month, if you are a Neo-Roman pagan, Vulcanalia will be on the 23rd. They've got a link here on their Lammas page for the Vulcanalia. Obviously, crafts and creations, as always. They've always got a link for different crafts and creations, just in case you're practicing, but you've also got children. Being able to involve them and do some arts and crafts with them. This is the link for you. And they've also got a link here for 5 quick decorating ideas for the festival as well. Now, nothing says pagan celebration like a potluck. Lammas or Lughnasadh is the time of the year when gardens are in full bloom, from root vegetables to fresh herbs. So much of what you need is right there in your own backyard or at the local farmers market. So take advantage of the gifts of the garden and cook up a feast. It would not be a festival or a holiday if you didn't eat your own weight in some good food. It does say here though, if you can't eat bread because of gluten, be sure to read up on creating lammas when you eat gluten-free. That's not a link, but I would assume if Lone Religions doesn't have it, that you can still find it somewhere. But I would assume, since they've got it written there, that they would have a page on it somewhere. But yeah, like I said, I don't normally sort of focus on it as a harvest festival. For me, it's more of a festival of the arts. But by pure coincidence, my brother did cook minestrone for for dinner, so we did still kind of have a Lughnasadh meal, which was good. We had a Lammas meal, which was really good. But yeah, that's all I've got for this video. I'm going to leave this link down below so you guys can click and explore to your heart's content. If you've watched this video all the way through, I thank you very much. Please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit that notification bell as well if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. If you liked this one, give it a big old thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you've been practicing for a while, how do you celebrate this particular festival? Is it Imbolc or Lughnasadh for you? You know, what's your favourite part of this time of year? If you're new to practicing, which of these sounds the most, you know, which of these sort of calls to you the most? Don't do something because someone else is doing it. The whole Wiccan pagan sort of religion is really around sort of being true and authentic to yourself. So which one of these is calling to you most? And until next time, guys, keep your head screwed on.